Alright chaps, this is a another tutorial. Somebody who liked my deep scale page actually asked me about the lead instrument in one of my upcoming tracks, so I'll just play you a quick sample of the track. So there it is. That's basically a track called Feeling Emotion, out on KZ Records in the near future. I have to apologise if I sound a bit croaky, by the way. I'm in Bali at the moment and it was a pretty heavy night last night, so yeah, I haven't had much sleep, so I thought I'd do this anyway. So basically, if I just isolate the actual lead that we're looking at here, it has got a bit of vocal over it, but yep. So we're looking for the lead, the instrument that's highest in the mix there, you know, just sitting underneath the vocal there, and basically that sound is relatively easy to make. I'm going to show you how to make it now. It uses a technique called pulse width modulation, and pulse width modulation is something that really has got its roots in the history of synthesis. The early synthesizers used to have analog oscillators, and the way they basically worked was that you would detune the oscillators to create sound, but they were quite expensive, these oscillators. So what some manufacturers did to create a bigger sound is they actually allowed you to get an oscillator and actually put a square wave on it and rapidly increase and decrease the width of that wave, and what that did is that actually had a fattening effect on the sound. So you got a fatter sound from only having one oscillator instead of having two oscillators. So it was an alternative to detuning oscillators essentially, and it was originally a money-saving thing for synths to make them a bit cheaper. But it turns out it has its own characteristic, and it's quite it's got a nice sound to it. I call it the cheap Casio effect, and yeah, you can use it in your productions, and it's got quite a sad sort of feeling to it. So I'm going to show you how to program that now. So the first thing that we're going to do is I've got the MIDI in this track here. So that's the MIDI that's taken from my track. Let me just open up Ableton a bit for you, and what I've done is I've got the actual initialization preset on here. So if you know from my past tutorials, I usually say there's a rough workflow to go through, and the workflow is we'll set up the oscillators, then set up the amp envelope, filtration and effects. Now we won't actually be using any filtration on this, and we're not really using effects, but what we will be doing is actually setting up some modulation sources to change the nature of how these oscillators sound. So we're really just doing steps 1 and 2 here. So the first thing we want to do is get the shape of the sound. So I've got one saw wave at the moment, and I'm just going to audition the original. Okay, and then I put mine on. So obviously I need a bit of release. Yeah, and I think I also need a bit of decay on there to smooth it out a bit, smooth it out. Okay, maybe a bit more there. Okay, that's sounding pretty good. Okay, play the original. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do in order to do pulse width modulation with Sylenth, lots of synthesizers have got a pulse width modulation option on them. However, with Sylenth, it doesn't have one built in, but if you read the instruction manual, it actually tells you how to get a pulse width like modulation effect. You just have to set things up a bit more differently. So in order to actually do pulse width modulation in Sylenth, what you need to do is you need to have two oscillators running. So we set these up there, turn that up to one voice, and the next thing to do is to actually go down to one of the LFO sections and click that and just check phase A and B, and what that's going to do is start to move them out of phase with each other. And I'm going to just turn up the amount on that, and then the rate, and then the gain. There we go. That is the pulse width modulation sound. You can hear how it's starting to sort of have a wobbly effect to it. So that's basically the core of the sound. So you've got the, like I've always said with synthesis is actually should be simple. It should be very easy to set a sound up. If you're spending too long doing it, I always recommend just deleting the patch and going from scratch again. That's the basic idea behind the sound. And now I'm just going to go through. I basically want to beef up the sound, and I want to widen it. And so the way that I'm going to beef up the sounds, I'm going to put up lots more voices on these oscillators. So I'm going to crank that up to 8, and I might as well crank that up to 8 while I'm here. And then I'm going to detune them as well to give it some more width, or some more beef. Okay, that's too much. And now basically what we've got with Sylenth, we've got this thing happening where the sound is too much in the center, and the way that we move the sound from the center to the edges is to turn off the retrigger, and what that does is that stops the oscillator starting at exactly the same time. Okay, so I'm just playing around here with the detune, and I put the voices down on that one just to reduce the amount of voices. Just because I thought, my intuition tells me there's perhaps too many voices in there, but that what I needed was less with some more tuning. Okay, and then we check the original. Mine. We could even. There we go. There you have it. Pulse width modulation lead. Hopefully this will help out with your deep house and new disco productions. It's a very sad sort of sound, I think, which is quite nice. It gives that deep feel to tracks. So yeah, that's just a quick tutorial today. So thanks a lot. Please subscribe to my channel if you can, and if you would like me to send you the patch that I've just made here, then please like my Facebook page and just send me a message through it and let me know. And yeah, if you enjoy it, then that's great. Thank you very much.